Pastor David Sijenyi is a resource pastor at Africa Gospel Church in Karen. He has been in ministry for many years and pastored at various churches, and he makes his submissions to this court on his journey of burnout at work. Moire and Malkia, not their real names or identities, have both gone through burnout at the workplace and requested to make their submissions to this court in camera, which is off camera. Their burnout challenges are tied to toxicity at the workplace. James Wanjeri is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. He is the managing partner of James Njeri and Company Advocates and specializes in litigation and dispute resolution as well as employment and labor law. He brings to this court insights on what the law says regarding burnout in the workplace and any further implications. Yusuf Saleh is a HR expert and a strategy and sustainability expert. He is the Deputy Director of HR and Administration at the Business Registration Services, and he is also a member of the Continuous Professional Development and Membership Committee of the Institute of Human Resource Management. Dr. Susan Gitau is a counseling psychologist and a lecturer at Nazarene University. She is also the founder of Susan Gitau Counseling Foundation. She submits to this court the impact of burnout on one's mental health as well as the motions it takes a worker on, also on the solutions.
My lords and ladyships, we are before you, the people of Kenya, to prosecute a matter that matters to you in this court of public interest, NewsCourt. Before this honorable court today is the matter of burnout in the workplace. You may know this, but there are times when you work so much for so long under some strenuous conditions that it starts taking a toll on you. Then, my lords, ladies, you sometimes feel stuck because the work has to be done and there are targets to hit and reports to be handed to your boss. You see, Justice Wanjiko, it's easy to tell someone to rest, but real talk, does life really give everyone that luxury? Also, remember, you can't just quit. You need that job for your daily bread. How do we achieve this balance realistically in this battered economy? Your Honor, we open the door to our first submissions from a first-hand experience.
I was pastoring at Nairobi Chapel, but by then we had just established Nairobi Chapel Karen. But I was still part of this outfit called the Multi-Church Pastor Institute, where we train pastors in charge of more than one congregation. And we were in Naivasha. So I went to take shower in the morning, and I discovered that the surgical scar that had been operated was almost 14 years after, later, So the surgical scar was ripping open. So I was sent to an orthopedic surgeon, and he discovered that there was nothing wrong with my bones were intact. Quickly occurred to me, why don't I contact my orthopedic surgeon? And so both of them concurred that actually there was nothing wrong with my bones. Everything was intact. But they continued doing further research, and they discovered that my body immune was low. And so they said that was the sign of a burnout. They've zoomed into 2015. If my memory serves me correctly, we had almost 50 or so bereavement by June of 2015. So by June of 2015, I had literally stood by at least 30 families from the time the bad news of the passing on of their loved ones was broken to them to the burial. They've dug deeper and they've found that probably that was the root cause of my burnout. So I said, 2018, I'll take a break. And I could wake up in the morning and I had no energy to do anything. My solace was my bed. My bed. Kuna usingizi tamu. In 2021 May, there was a relapse of the burnout, and that was now when I was now admitted proper. We were taking breakfast. My son was 8 years old, so I wanted to instruct him. He's called Seth. Seth, please wipe your mouth. And as I'm talking to my son, I'm looking at the face of my son, somebody that I know. But I'm opening my mouth, and instead of saying Seth, I'm calling him Fred. Fred is my younger brother. So I cannot even remember the name of my son. I will leave the house, and then I will ignite the car, and I will not remember where was I going. Or I'll go to the ATM. You put your card into the slot, and I don't remember the PIN number. One of the ways the doctors have helped to restore my memory, my short-term memory, is they've encouraged that I write a lot. So I write a lot.
The World Health Organization defines burnout as a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. The WHO adds that burnout is characterized by 3 dimensions. First, feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion. Then, increased mental distance from one's job or feelings of negativism or cynicism related to one's job. And thirdly, reduced professional efficacy. My lords and ladies, we have other submissions by people who have suffered burnout and shared their heartbreaking experiences in camera seeking anonymity, but this court has verified their stories.
I used to commute for about 100 kilometers. That's to and fro. I used to leave home at 5:30 a.m. I walked for 15 minutes. So when I got the contract, it was for 8 months. So I just decided to stay where I am and sacrifice and be the one to be commuting so that my daughter does not have to be waking up early or again destabilizing her with moving her to a new school. Eventually, because I was running the department alone, with all the commute, and then I was experiencing a bit of toxicity in the workplace from only 3 ladies. All the other staff are okay. I got serious burnout. So I have been having migraines for several years, over 10 years. But then when I joined this place, now they became more intense and more frequent. I even developed speech problems, and sometimes you can pick it, but sometimes it's not there. By that time, it was now very pronounced, and it was the first time it was happening to me. And then you would see people in meetings laughing at how I'm articulating myself. Now, the lady who used to live near my place, she comes out of the blue. She's like, you are a single parent. You should put in more effort than everyone else. You have a child, so she mentions my child by name and she's looking up to you. You do not have a fallback plan. So she said this in front of people who are visiting they were sitting in a different area. They had come to visit the place where I used to work, and I remember they looked at me and looked at her. So when she walked away, one of the ladies came and she gave me a hug. And it's been years, but this story just makes me cry. Well, but what made me decide I was done, I was done working there, was one day one of those ladies again sent an email at 10:30 p.m. So she wanted it actioned, whatever she wanted, by 8 a.m. The following morning, she says, you work for XXX. This is not like any other company. You should be checking your emails even at midnight. When you choose to work here, you choose to come to work environment that where you need to be on your toes, checking your emails at whatever time. So like, okay, fine. So I went and did what she wanted, and I submitted it to her, and it was even something that she had previously sent to her. So, but she always used to look for things to try and frustrate me. I got serious burnout. I was admitted to Nairobi Hospital, and I didn't even tell anyone. And contrary to how you'd be feeling stressed during the hospital, for me it was the most peaceful and restful time I had felt in such a long time, and I was actually happy being there. I could sleep the whole day. I would only wake up when I need to eat, when I need to shower, when I need to take medication. Sometimes you'll be like, I don't want to lose this job because I have this person. I have to take care of myself. I have to take care of my child. I have to take care of many other things to survive in this world. But now I believe in speaking up.
The day when my doctor prescribed therapy and lots of sleep for me was the day I quit my job. On a good day, I would work for 14 hours, which in hindsight sounds insane. I would work for up to 16 hours in a day and do it all over again the next day. The environment was competitive and not in a good way. Burnout, long hours, being busy was glorified. So on this day, I fainted at work. I was severely dehydrated, I was fatigued, I had hypertensive symptoms. And despite numerous tests, the doctors couldn't pinpoint what exactly was wrong. But one thing was clear, I was tired. This is just the tip of the iceberg for what my working environment was like. I remember I had to carry my phone to the toilet once to make sure my boss could reach me. Otherwise, she would go ballistic if she didn't. It felt like I was enslaved. I know the main goal in any business is to make sure the client is happy and satisfied, but at the expense of an employee's health it's extreme. So again, when my doctor prescribed therapy and lots of sleep for me was the day I quit my job. And for the record, I quit at the height of COVID with no job prospects.
These, Justice Wanjiko, are just a few stories, but are representative of many people's realities, and some are worse.
What of the employer, if I may? Amid all these tough, rough experiences, there is a human resource dynamics to it. This court now calls Yusuf Saleh to take the stand. So, where do employers draw the line between giving a lot of work?
It all depends on the amount of work that you assigned. That is your job description and what we call the KPI, key performance indicators.
So do they have the luxury to allow employees to rest while the business is struggling? It's a question of between the balance between lives and livelihoods.
Yes, indeed. And multiple researchers and studies have indicated that people's productivity is dependent on wellness of the individual. So as an employer, we always find time for all employees to get rest and do enough for the day.
In that case, why then doesn't sometimes the employer take care of the staff in pursuit of this profitability and, of course, generating revenue?
Some employers are greedy, and that's the reality. But again, we have to draw the line as an employee to learn to say no to the things that you can't do at that particular time.
Then how do they balance all these needs? Welfare and, of course, staying afloat in the market, being profitable.
We encourage employees to practice what we call self-care, where you find your time for the things that matter for you. Health, mental health, and also physical health.
Lastly, what are some of the hacks that HR teams can employ to make life less stressful for their staff?
Employee engagement. We have to come up with more innovative ways of engaging our employees so that we can observe when employees are experiencing burnout or losing their productivity as expected.
Mr. Saleh, there is a conflict. If your employer today gives you work and you refuse to take it up, you say no, chances are you're going to be replaced. How does an employee hack this, especially with their employer?
That's why one of the key things that we emphasize for any employee is communication skills and negotiation skills. It's just a matter of discussing with your supervisor and make him or her understand the reasons why you can take up whatever additional responsibilities you've been given.
You're talking about self-care. Does work-life balance really exist? Because sometimes when you leave the office, you have some more work to take care of. You open your laptop when you're at home and you're still following up on something when you should actually be resting or just relaxing. You're from work, your 9 to 5 is done. So is there work-life balance? Is it real or it's a scam?
It is real.
Okay.
I personally practice self-care. You always find time to do the things you can do and the small things that make you happy. That's just an example of self-care. For instance, taking a walk, or even preparing a meal, the nice meal for your family. That is self-care. And we have to learn to say no, as I indicated earlier on, for the things we can't do. This is a body, it needs some rest, and you have to also to do other things that make you a being, that is a human being.
Nothing further from me, Your Honor. Much obliged.
One common phrase in the Kenyan circles is, the law is very clear. On this matter before you, though, I'm not sure the law is as clear. So this court calls to the stand James Kamau. So James, are there any laws regarding burnout in the Republic of Kenya?
So one of the things that the law requires is that you must have working hours need to be defined, right? And this could be either through contract, even when you have oral contracts. Working hours are defined. It also provides for instances where you work beyond that time, which we now call overtime. And it provides that such overtime, you need to be compensated for that overtime. The Act also is clear that in terms of what your job description is, to ensure that you are not employed as a teacher, but you end up working as a cleaner, right? Because these are some of the things that also lead to burnout, where you find that an employee had certain tasks that they were meant to do, but then they are given additional tasks that were not part of the work that they were meant to do. There are other off days can be issued depending on the nature of your work, right? Jobs are different, and different benefits will be given based on the different roles that you're undertaking. But part of what also the law provides is, for instance, like holidays. If it's a public holiday, it's a national holiday, it's been gazetted, you should also not work on that day. And if you do work, then you should be compensated for working on such a day.
If an employee feels that they are, in some kind of tough situation where they would want to take rest, but they're not able to, what sort of relief is there legally?
Of course, at that point, if you're falling sick, the first thing you need to do as an employee is to bring this to the attention of your employer. The best case is that you also get medical advice, because in law, we say that everything falls and rises on evidence. So you would need to show that based on the opinion of a medical professional, the source of your sickness is because of the burnout that you're experiencing, for instance. Employees also need to know how to spot some of the issues that cause burnout. You need to be able to know when you're at a heightened state of stress, when you feel like you're getting mental challenges. For instance, if you feel you're working very long hours without any amount of rest being taken. Once now you begin to identify these things, then the next step after that would be, if you're finding yourself falling sick, it will be good to get medical attention and have that addressed.
Thank you very much for speaking to the court. Your Honor, it is important that this court notes that burnout has been correlated with anxiety and depression. It is a mental health matter, and to this end, the court calls Dr. Susan Gitau to the stand. Dr. You deal with many people who have experienced burnout. Let's begin. Have you experienced burnout yourself?
Definitely. The first time I went to teach at the university, I didn't have prior experience, and so I took very many units. And before the semester ended, I was basically in hospital, having all the examinations done, but no illness detected.
How does burnout play out from as far as you have seen it?
Burnout, especially in the workplace, is accumulation of exhaustion. It is stress related to the work, nothing else. And you're quarreling with people all over. That has an angle of behavior, it has an angle of your social relationships. Because the brain, that is the center of balancing, loses it all. It is worse when now it gets physical. Because with burnout, all the lifestyle diseases that you hear of, you get very many young people who are actually being diagnosed with diabetes of all types. We have high blood pressure. We have heart-related diseases, not to mention aching joints and muscles, and sometimes people totally not able to move. And I'm sure you've had worse situations where somebody went, reported to work, and they were found sleeping on their desk, and that was it. We have had people who have developed dementia because they have worked without managing their burnouts. They can't recall when we ought to remember where maybe we put our very precious documents like the will and all that. Somebody can't remember. And it's worse if you actually worked without managing your burnout and then you retire. It will catch you when you go home. And then we find you after 3 years of retirement, we've lost you. So I'm also speaking to the business people as well. Because when you are the owner of your business, sometimes that business can be a very major cause of burnout. Because people who are employed from 8 to 5, they can say, I came here at 8, 5, kindly don't give me any work.
As you interact with various companies, do you feel that the matter of burnout is being taken as seriously as it should?
I would love to say there are a few that try, but majority wait for Christmas, when you had put a budget for end of year party. And it's when you call Dr. Gitao in and say, come and have 1 hour. For us, we need a whole week of 5 days. But we are also trying for those people who do not have that kind of employee assistant program. We try, and we are talking today about neuroplasticity. If there can be any movement you can do to ensure that you are oscillating between your left and the right brain, whatever it is, even if it's doing like this, in between the work time, or you are walking up and down and counting systematically, it can help. You can wake up every morning and check your breathing system, because the more you take slow, deep breaths, 3 times, not a lot done. I wish I could demonstrate this. You just take a deep breath, hold it a little bit, and then release. Again, hold it, release. That time, hold, release. You can tell from the first time up to the third time that the system is relaxing. The same is happening to the brain. And once the brain is okay, you're good. It's only 8 sessions and we train people.
Like you'd mentioned, the entrepreneur.
Even the ones who are running businesses, just know, even if you die, your business might also die with you. And even if you die, if you are an employee, you'll be replaced immediately.
We were told to burn the midnight oil. We weren't told that in the mid of the night, the oil could burn us too. You may be strong, but you're not burnout proof. You may be hitting those targets until your plans burn and poof. You're battling for your sanity. Life is a calamity. It's saddening that suddenly life is not a certainty. The lack of rest can arrest and set your heart at unrest. You're working hard at your best, but you're giving in because you are flesh. At what point does one say, I'm done, I'm out? Or for most of us, does the situation speak back and say, shut your mouth? Make peace with rest before you rest in peace. Reap the fruits of rest before you RIP. They say that chance to extinguish the burnout may be all you've got. All in all, that's what we've got. NewsCourt.